Welcome to the Kickstart episode of the Sum of All Wisdom podcast, conversations on music, makers, and meaning. I'm Dr. Scott Catey, and today I'm talking with Andre Floyd. Andre is a beloved and respected singer, songwriter, guitarist, and music educator from Missoula, Montana. Andre is also kind of an institution in the world of American music, and he's played all over the country and all over the world, and with darn near everybody, I think. He has a really terrific ability to bring people together and keep them close through the power of his intellect, his soul, and his music. Andre is one of the most generous and wonderful people I know, and our conversation was a little bit like My Dinner with Andre, if you remember that film. That was unplanned, but damn, it was a good time. I'm really proud to call Andre my friend, and I'm thrilled to have him on the Maiden Voyage episode of this show. Let's kick things off with a little taste of Andre's music.
Late last night, in the moonlight shine, I wandered past your garden one last time. I could feel the earth within, but I couldn't feel your love again. But I fight back tears, I must be strong. I'm reaching out, but I can't hold on. How could love have come and gone? There are no rules if we play no games. So if it's magic, it'll come again. But later last night, when the full moon shone, this heart of mine felt so alone. But I fight back tears, I must be strong. I'm reaching out, but I can't hold on. Could love have come and gone? Yeah. Last night, in the moonlight shine, I wandered past your garden one last time. I could feel the earth within, but I couldn't feel your love again. But if I back tears, I must be strong. Reaching out, but I can't hold on. How could love have come and gone? Yeah.
You're listening to the Sum of All Wisdom podcast, and that was Your Garden from the album Lapis by Andre Floyd with his band Mood Iguana. It was originally released in 1996 by Tapas Records. At the time, I was assistant program director and midday jock on KZOQ FM in Missoula, and I had the privilege of spinning that platter a few times on the radio. Andre and I met in 1995, and we've had some amazing times together. It's no accident that I was with Andre for some of my most cherished memories. When Taj Mahal played Missoula in 1998, I emceed the show, and Andre played with Taj in the band. We even all got together and scattered a bit afterwards. I think it was stomping at the Savoy or something. Anyway, great memory. Another highlight was the trip Andre and I took to see Joni Mitchell and Van Morrison and Bob Dylan at the Gorge in George Washington in 1996. Amazing show, amazing run of shows. Good times and lots of them. And over a diverse and remarkable career, Andre has represented music in a very real, connected, and community way. He's always said it's the music that matters, and that's what he's always brought to it. So when I had the idea for this podcast and things started coming together, Andre was the first person I reached out to, and my great hope was that he would feature as my first guest. He agreed, and we found some time to catch up earlier this year. We talked for a couple of hours about life, his background, politics, friendship, and most importantly, music. But enough preamble, let's get to the conversation. How are you doing, Andre?
I'm well, Scott. How are you, sir?
I'm doing just fine. You're this is home? We're looking at
you're looking at the house. This is the kitchen, front room. The deck's right over here outside the window.
Nice. And this is where you've got your studio set up, is that right?
Yeah, I'm sitting in front of it right here. I'm facing it.
I can't tell you how good it is to see you.
You know, it's really crazy. I'm just loving this. And to hear you in real time is just like, man.
It's a thing.
I can't even believe I'm looking at you. But you're a doctor. You're a doctor.
I am. I am a doctor. I got my doctorate in 2011.
I am so freaking proud.
Well, thank you, man.
I mean, your capacity has always been much greater than what you were actually doing at the time. But I didn't know that you knew that.
Thank you. Yeah. You know, it's really interesting, Andre. I don't know if you are aware of this, but you have been, how do I say it? At every pivotal moment in my life, you've been there. So I don't recall if you knew that I went to Romania in 1995. I left the country, went to Romania. Big heartbreak, had to get out of here, get out of town.
Yeah.
We had just met. And I remember talking to you about the heartbreak and all of it. And then, you're like, take care of yourself, be good, do right in the world. And I left. I came back a year later, and I think you were like the first or maybe second person that I actually saw after I got back. Actually,
that's incredible. I did not know any of this. I did not. No.
Phenomenal. Then you introduced me to my wife, the show at Paradise Falls.
Not only did I introduce you, but I made it part of the show.
Exactly. And when we got married, Tiara and I got married. We went off. I left and went for school, right? So I quit the radio station in 01. We left for Boston, and I went to school, started in Boston, ended up in Florida. But you were there when we left. You were there every time something important in my life has happened. There's Andre Floyd. And
that's pretty amazing to me.
I'm just starting this podcast, and the first person that I wanted to talk to was you. It's just seemed natural. And so another pivot in my life, and there you are, brother. I'm just so happy to, first of all, have you in my life. Second of all, have you on my podcast. And third, just know that you're in the world doing what you do.
It's really, I got to tell you that it's always been I've always been a cobbler. I've cobbled together any kind of thing I could survive with. And, and I've run into some really great fortune, and I've met some amazing people along the way, and you have always been at the front of that. I mean, it's incredible that your life turned into events that correlated with mine. But it's true. What you're saying is true. I could say the same thing about you that you just stated about me.
That's so kind, Andre. I love it. As a cobbler, speaking of the cobbling things together, this is essentially what I want to talk about: your life and your career and your role as a musician, bringing people together, bringing communities together, and especially the work that you're doing in Arlee. I mean, that's the work with Native folks, Native kids, is so important, I think. So I really want to get us back to that at some
Yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah. And it's pretty important work, and they're so disassociated and untrust. They don't trust very easily.
Yeah.
It's
You have to
difficult
buy
to,
them.
but and as a result of that, I know they're not going to go to college, and I want to give them the tools to actually to create their own success. They don't need to do it traditionally.
Yeah, that's right. I taught Upward Bound. That Upward Bound is for kids who are marginalized, right? Economically marginalized, ethnic and race marginalization. But the University of Montana had a Upward Bound program. I don't know if it's still there or not, but anyway, when I
You
was,
know, it's been defunded drastically.
oh,
It has been underfunded. Well, you can imagine what happened in the last year. It
yeah,
was
totally.
pretty much disregarded completely. I mean, anything that speaks to incorporating ethnicities in a white Anglo-Saxon town.
Oh my God, it's terrible.
No, they're doing everything they can to turn this into 1939 Germany.
And they're having some success, right? So
Well, there's 30% of us who are in favor of that.
I mean, I know at a conceptual level why that is, how that happens, but in my, I don't know, my heart or my soul, wherever it matters, I can't fathom that at all.
That was also true in 1938, though, here in America. There was a large Madison Square Garden was full of Nazis at one point.
It's true. That's right.
Yeah.
The kids that I taught in Upward Bound, hands down, my favorite educational experience. They were so interesting, so enthusiastic. They had, oh my God, it was a wonderful experience. And the program itself, great too. The people that were teaching and administering the program were fantastic. But I look back on those days as that was a moment that I wish I would have appreciated more in the moment. I had a lot of fun, and I that's one thing that I am proudest of. But I wish I would have done more of it.
Well, I'm sure they're the same way. They wish you would have done more of it too.
I
Yeah,
expect.
there's a lot of lives you didn't touch because they came later. But but here's the thing, if you can start a pebble, I mean, you can't wait for the quarry. No, well, you know this already. And I was just thinking about, my first job when I moved to Chicago was working for Jane Byrne for her program for getting the kids to know what it was like to go to work. So we took inner city kids and we for 2 days a week and we showed them how to be on time for work. And we walked around for the aldermen and we did things like fire hydrant repair, cars that needed to be towed in the precinct. Making sure that the block parents or the neighborhood watch was intact in some of the worst neighborhoods. I was at the time teaching at Malcolm X Elementary, which tells you something. I was 32.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been just imported by the Bank of Ravenswood. I was living in Missoula prior to 1982. I was going to the university, and this banker came out for his daughter's graduation, and we were her favorite band, so she dragged him down to Jekyll and Hyde's. And he actually loved the band, but loved me a great deal, Mr. Oberreiner. About 2 weeks later, I get a $5,000 cashier check in the mail saying, "Please come to Chicago." It's 82. $5,000 is like 20,000 now.
Yeah, right.
And it was like, wow. And so, but he said, "And if you're not coming, please send this back." I went, and he gave me a bank repossessed apartment to live in, my girlfriend at the time and myself, and connections. All I had to do was network with musicians, and pretty soon I was in. And my first gig there, Ernie Banks was the PR director for the bank. Mr. Cub. So my first gig there was the National Anthem at Wrigley Field.
You gotta be kidding.
No, I was there I got there April 7th and I did this June 17th, 1982.
Wow. Man, that's crazy.
I know. And I was really not a very well-liked person because of that butting in line. There were a lot of people waiting to do that for years. Who were long, stalwart Chicagoans. And so I cut ahead of the line, and I learned quickly in Chicago that was a no-no. That you could quickly be what they call a jag-off. And
yeah, right.
Yeah.
You, microphone, guitar, tell me about the singing the anthem.
I just went out, they were playing the Montreal Expos. So I had to learn the Canadian one as well. So I went to the Canadian consulate, got a little 45 record of their anthem and the lyric sheet for the song.
Yeah.
And I went home and I learned it, and I learned it in a particular key. And then I learned ours. Of course, I knew it. And then when the game came, nobody told me that the visiting team's anthem was first, obviously. So I had a key so I was in the wrong key for the anthem, and I was like, I needed to clip my nuts to hit those notes. But so that was, so the organist didn't even tell me. That was her joke on me. And of course, Harry Carey and Steve Stone were in the booth. It was on WGN. So it was a super station. My mom watched it in Biloxi, and I was in Chicago. They were watching it all over the United States. And there I was in my Missoula polyesters with my big fat white 1982 tie with my name on the electronic scoreboard at Wrigley Field singing the national anthem before the Cubs game, my first Chicago gig.
That's America right there. WGN, Harry Carey baseball broadcast.
The only thing missing was a corn dog. It was
Right.
yeah. Oh my God, it was so that way. So that way. And Ernie Banks, because it was Ernie Banks that got me the gig, I got to watch the game in the dugout with all the guys. I was in the dugout for the whole game. So I met Bobby Dernier and Ryan Sandberg. And, it was just Ron Say, who was I was a big Ron Say fan, the Penguin. He was sitting there spitting peanuts at me.
I got into the Cubs when I was 18, 19, right in there. And I was hardcore a Cub fan for a couple of years. Just, I don't know, something clicked and I really needed to watch the Cubs. And it was Sandberg and Mark Grace and
Bobby Dernier.
Exactly. It was a great lineup.
Yeah, and Rick Sutcliffe.
I loved it.
Pitching. Yeah, and they still had Fergie Jenkins.
So how long were you there? After you found out that you were not supposed to button line, how long did you stay in Chicago and what?
I was there 10 years. My first gigs were with Corky Siegel. Corky and I are still friends to this day from Siegel Schwall Band. And I was playing the Cultural Center within weeks, opening up at Wrigley Field, playing the Cultural Center. I was the darling. The roses were on the street for me. I lived in a bank repossessed apartment. My girlfriend and I, we weren't paying rent. I had a stipend, not just the $5,000, but I had a stipend of $900 a week, which was incredible. Plus, I wasn't paying for any apartments or food or anything. We ate out all the time because our job was to learn the city. I got a manager named Eddie Leonard, who later became the Eddie Leonard that did all the Great Americas.
Oh, no kidding.
He was my manager for the first 4 years. He taught me how to ride the transit system and how to hail a cab. And he taught me all the Chicago shit I needed to know so I wasn't going to wind up on my ass in an alley somewhere. It was really quite an experience for a kid from Great Falls.
Yeah. So you were son of an Air Force.
Air Force tech sergeant. Yeah.
So you traveled around a lot. And how old were you? Born in Great Falls, or did you land?
I was born in Bruton, Alabama, and I was 9 weeks old when we moved to Kansas. And then he was at Hutchinson Air Force Base, Kansas. They build Winnebagos there now. And then we moved to Maine, and we were at Bangor, so we were at Dow Air Force Base in Maine. Then we moved to Panama, where I went to middle school. I went to middle school, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade in Panama at Corundu Junior High, which was great. I loved the jungle. I had a pet ocelot. Instead of a cat, I had an ocelot.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was wonderful for 3 years. Yeah.
Was it like a U.S. school? Kids of the?
It was a public school for the U.S. kids, a private school for Panamanian wealthy people.
Oh, really? So you had some Panamanian schoolmates.
Oh yes, I dated Tata Vega, who sings now. We were in 7th grade. We were sweethearts. She works with with Stevie Wonder now. She's on Stevie Wonder's tour. She does background vocals and has for the last 38 years for Stevie Wonder.
Oh,
but she could sing in 7th grade, and yeah, she could wail. And boy, was she was a lovely coquette. Yeah.
And then after Panama was Great Falls, or where'd you go?
Yes, it was directly to Great Falls. And I thought since it was a Spanish word, Montana, we were heading somewhere nearby. Little did I know
I mean, jungle to
from the
high
jungle to the.
plains, mountains, cold. Oh man, how was that
Oh
for
yeah. Oh my God. Great Falls is merciless in the winter.
yes.
It is just you couldn't have a more extreme situation.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
We moved in April, so I had the summer to get ready. But yeah,
That helps.
plus living in Maine before we moved to Panama helped a
Mm.
little. I mean, we knew what snow was and we knew what cold temperatures were. And, my dad had a snow blower that he had put in storage for 3 years. So
Where along the way did you pick up the guitar?
in Maine, for my 11th birthday, I wanted a horse. I got a guitar.
How about that?
Yeah. And I figured that I should have known that an Air Force family wasn't going to buy a horse. What are you going to fucking do with a horse? Put it in the U-Haul? I mean,
Ride that son of a bitch to Panama, right?
There you go, man. Riding across Contractor Hill, the highest
Right.
peak in Panama, just riding your pony. Yeah.
And so, did you take right to the guitar? Did it take you a while? Did you
Boy, I
tell me about
struggled,
your?
It took me about, well, I was in a band within, a couple years
Mm,
because it was the 60s and who
mhm.
wasn't, you know? I mean, you couldn't walk down the street and not hear two or three bands rehearsing for many
Right.
years there.
Yeah, yeah. Was it Beach Boys, Beatles, blues? What did
Oh
you play?
boy. Well, I thought that one of the hardest songs I thought I'd ever heard was Fun, Fun, Fun. And it had three chords, so
Yeah.
I had no idea how easy it was or hard it would be. I was just making, and we had no tuners. There weren't tuners, and you had to listen to the radio or a cassette tape, and tapes played slow, so tuning your guitar was hell. It was just abs. I had a tuning fork that I had for the first 5 years that I'd hit on the table and tune my E string and go from there.
How about that?
So yeah, but so I taught myself, and before too long I was in a band and we were playing at the teen club on bass, and we were playing Gloria and Midnight Hour and some Rascals, and of course Satisfaction. You had to play Satisfaction.
You had to. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was two chords. You could get that done, and so yeah. And immediately I learned the relationship between rock and roll, sex, and drugs.
It's a
And
natural relationship, right?
it is a natural. It is almost as natural as kittens in a blanket.
So after you Maine down to Panama, back to Great Falls, you did high school in Great Falls, is that right?
I did. I went to Russell. Yeah, I went to CMR, and I was junior class vice president there. And then I ran for president with, of all people, Bruce Anfinson, who wrote "Home Is Where Montana Is."
No kidding.
That's
Really?
pretty much our state song now. He and I are still close. It's like what is it like? It's like Jimi Hendrix and who's the most far or Waylon Jennings are in a band together. I mean, it's just,
I think that probably would have worked, actually.
anything with those guys would have worked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
they would have made it work.
And then you
Yeah,
went to
but yeah,
Missoula for college,
college.
is that right?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
came to Missoula for college. That's what all my high school buddies did. So I wanted to be where they were. And to this day, I still hang out with those same guys.
And what'd you study in college?
Girls. I majored in girls. I minored in low self-esteem. Well, those are rough years, as you know. Those are not years
Um,
of confidence.
Hard for any man, I think.
I think so. I think it's hard for them too, the women. I think it's difficult for them because they're confused too. We're all in a big ball of confusion at that point.
And so playing Missoula, that was a rich era, man. That moment, the top
It
hat,
was
Robert Cray was playing there. I mean, everybody.
Robert Cray was at the top, had Bonnie Raitt. I remember seeing Bonnie Raitt jump up on stage with Lost Highway Band at the Park Hotel.
Oh man,
Um,
that's
I
an era.
saw, oh yeah, Costas was in his prime. Yeah, though it was a great time to be in Missoula, and of course Ace Rummel. I mean, Jay Rummel, Ace Wheeler. They're doing a documentary that they just filmed here in this very room. They interviewed me for about 3 hours about my relationship with Jay Rummel. I knew him pretty well. Of course, Jay didn't trust you if you didn't drink.
Mhm.
You had to drink and you had to kind of be where he was at for him to open up to you. And I was. So we buddied up and I played with him every Wednesday night at Luke's for many years.
Oh man, I remember those years. Tell
Yeah, you
me, tell
do.
me what was so this is Missoula Icon, right? icon in Montana,
Mhm.
really, probably in the whole Northwest. But tell me more about Jay.
Well,
what was
Jay
his
did those
general
plates. He
direction?
did those black ink on plates. He would do things for beer and whiskey. He would draw on a napkin for you. Those napkins are worth, $5,000 now.
Yeah.
One of the angriest guys I've ever known, one of the nicest men I've ever known. The drinking thing is a real thing. I
Hmm.
mean, all those things were true, but the music was really honest from him. And that's what I attached to his obsession with Hank Williams, his absolute convincing himself that he was going to die the way Hank died of alcoholism and dark, disturbing sexual encounters. Um, he was and of course, like I said before, if you didn't drink, he didn't trust you. Um, he hated the only kind of people he wouldn't let in are preachy ones or judgmental ones. He didn't,
Mhm.
he just couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
And he drank himself to death, but he was a brilliant artist. He did things no one else did, and I still haven't seen anything like it.
He was amazing. Really was amazing. I didn't know Jay well. I knew him sort of. I was in the orbit around, what do you call it? Nicely. The
Barstool
Yeah.
literary crowd.
Yeah, exactly. So Jay was there, and
Who else was there on those stools? Kittredge. Oh, it would have been the poet, Hugo. Richard Hugo was around.
yeah.
Michael Kreisberg, Kent Jacobson was around. There was a little bit of Kesey thrown in there. Kesey would float in and out. So would Gary Snyder.
That was some kind of moment.
Seamus Heaney even showed up.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember
Yeah.
that. That was big news in the
Yeah.
grapevine sort of sense.
Yeah. Shot pool with Seamus Heaney all night. All night.
At Luke's?
Luke's, yeah.
That's a story.
Yeah, it was amazing.
So you're not just watching these folks play around Missoula, you're also playing and playing with them, right?
Yeah.
In those
Yeah,
areas.
Costas was at the top hat every Tuesday.
Mm.
I'd join him and we'd sit by the back door. There was no stage. There was kind of a little platform by the back door where you set up, and
Yeah.
two guitars would be rubbing elbows if there were two of you back then.
I saw Grisman and Vassar Clements there once, and that
Oh,
was
nice.
one of the most amazing things ever. I got to talk
Uh,
to Clements afterwards. Oh my God, what
well,
a
that's half of Olden in the Way, man.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was 6 degrees away from Jerry, man. I was hoping
No,
he'd
I
blow
get
through
you.
there, but not in my time.
Well, Vassar, David Griffith and Gary Snow were in his tour band, and they later became part of Moody Guana.
Oh.
So
And
they were
Griffith
on
played
this.
with Rob Quist as well,
Yeah,
right?
and I took him from Rob at
Yeah.
that ballroom show that we did together that we were doing. I think it was a No Nukes concert or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy's talented too, multi-instrumentalist. He does a little bit of everything.
David?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, you know what? He has a lot of gravity. And if you have to do a gig without him, it's like having to recite a poem naked, you know.
Is he still part of the band? Are you still playing with
No,
him?
but he's one of my best friends still. I dissolved Mood Iguana in 2014.
Oh, did you? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I just got tired. It was not the same band. I didn't want to keep doing an inferior thing to what I had intended originally.
Mm.
It had some of the same personnel, but we lost a couple guys. We lost Mark Morava, who played saxophone and lead guitar, which was
Mm.
pretty astounding to watch. He'd be burning a solo, then walk up to the sax and
I
blow like,
remember. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, so it was, and it just started to become, when you're the boss, everybody starts seeing you as the boss, and then you become the enemy eventually.
Mm.
And that's what I've noticed about the sociology of rock and roll bands. It's a
Grim
thing.
truth. Tell me more about that, Andre. What is like that's you have this vision, you have a great band, you have albums that you've put out, and then for this sort of thing to come around, what does that do to you?
Well, here's the thing about it. If you remember, I had a partner named Al Kerrigan. We went to the concert with Al Kerrigan, you and I. He had tickets to the same thing we went to. They just were in different seats. But
He was helped you with he was your partner in Tapas
at
Records, right?
Tapas, right? He
Yeah.
was pretty much the money guy,
Yeah, okay.
and I was the creative guy. And he ran off and became a Foursquare pastor and quit the music business totally. I really respect people who find themselves, whether it's through Jesus, Buddha, Gita, Krishna, I really don't care. I think it's important that we find our spiritual nougat and we nurture it somehow, whatever you choose. But so oftentimes we choose the separation that church creates as much as we do the salvation. And we make people exceptional. We will do things if they are part of our crowd, and if they are not, we don't want them anymore.
That's right. And we often do terrible things to them because of that.
Because of that. And the religion comes with consequences.
It sure does.
Yeah. And it's unbelievable how many consequences we are experiencing now in the name of what? I'm not sure.
That's the thing. What is the point? Just burn everything down, right?
Well, the point is the cruelty. The point is revenge. I've known for a long time, Scott, that this race thing, if Lincoln hadn't been shot, maybe the trajectory would have been a little different, but you cannot expect, because the Civil War was what it was, he needed a Southerner on that ticket. And he chose Johnson. And when he chose Johnson, he pretty much sold out the war effort because he had to survive that in order to implement those strategies for the Southern Reformation. And it didn't work. And when Andrew came in, he dismantled everything that Lincoln wanted to do.
And set up the Supreme Court, among other things, to
maintain and turned a blind eye to the changes that the states implemented on their own in the South.
Yeah, that's right.
Lincoln would have had troops down there insisting that they do it that way. So, and even then the resentment would have been huge. I don't think that we've dealt with the race issue ever in this country. This is a country, have you ever read The Wealth of Nations?
A long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, we had to. It was required reading and, I don't know, introductory to some class. Well, to take a look at that book, you have to understand that the wealth of this nation is built on free labor.
That's right.
Almost
exclusively free labor, right?
Almost exclusively free labor until 1912? And then even after that, civil rights didn't exist. You may have been free and equal, but you weren't free and equal at the bank. You weren't free and equal at the bus stop or when the rent was due.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where Trump comes from, is that attitude.
And the worst expression of it. I
consider it honest. I think that's an honest expression of it. I think that we should start using that word because it does place the blame where it belongs.
So you've been, obviously you have thought about this a lot and you've experienced this. Montana has its own history, right? How's it been for you as a man of a particular race in that state?
When I first got here, I fell in with cowboys, Cascade County Sheriff's Association kids. And it seemed to me that for the first time in my life, it was not about your skin color, but it was really about the content of your character for him. And if you worked hard, you got just as many pancakes as the next guy. I really saw that in Montana. Now, there's an element of money that comes with this open spaces. Now, that's different. Now, you look at Big Sky or some of the wealth that's moving here now, that's the same thing as Trump. Where you really want to be separate and better than.
But get away from the hoi polloi.
Absolutely. And consider everything that doesn't agree with you to be pop science, some sort of cultural belch or hiccup,
Has that been consistent for you from Great Falls to all the other places you've been?
I actually think that Maine was worse than Montana for racism. I think that they had all of those big black cities to the south of them, and that scared them. The Philadelphias, the New Yorks, the Pittsburghs, the Newark, all that stuff. That was just south of them, and they had that little buffer of New Hampshire and Vermont, and that was it. Then you were into the big bad wolf, So I think Maine was worse. In Montana, there was a sense of we're so far away from that shit that there's no Negroes here. We have our native problem, but it's just like the American Negro. eventually the victim becomes the problem. You teach insecurity, you teach fear. If you're teaching insecurity and fear, there's a lot of lessons you won't be able to get under those conditions.
Mm-hmm.
The kindness, the neighborhood, the thing that we all consider to be apple pie, mom, and the flag are much different in those neighborhoods, whether they're barrios or ghettos.
Not to be a clumsy transition, this is an interesting thread, but I want to talk about how you're seeing that now in the work that you're doing. So can you tell me how you got the grant and what the grant
Yeah, well, the grant was written by a woman named Donna Mollica, who used to have the Hanging Art Gallery in Arlee. And she was married to a native by the name of Denny Minolt. And those guys, I became close to them, and they knew that in the wintertime, that oftentimes I didn't work as much because I didn't want to be on the roads. And so she wrote a grant to keep me employed. It was really nice of her. But the grant really dealt with I had this idea of self-determination. I wanted to start doing self-determination classes for people who don't make traditional choices. And I came up with an idea, and I discussed it with her over lunch, and she wrote a grant based on that idea. And what we decided to do is we wanted to teach the Native kids to record first their history, secondly their music, and then learn the skills of that as a trade instead of going to college, which we know they're not going to choose. So by giving them a tool to create a self-actualization, a self-determination path where they could recognize that things don't have to be traditionally done. Success is what you desire, not what others desire for you.
And not what others tell you should be doing.
That is exactly right. If somebody says, oh, no, you're not going to make any money doing that. Well, you got to decide, is that what I want? Or do I want self-peace? Do I want to have an alarm clock? Or do I want to get up when I want it?
Right.
Those kind of.
So just for context, Arlee is on the Flathead Reservation, Salish Kootenai kids.
It is. It's barely there, but it's there.
I have spent a lot of time when I was a younger man in Arlee and around that whole area, St. Ignatius, right up and down the.
Yeah, right. The Jocko.
I saw in 1988, this is a little bit of an aside, Andre, but I went there in 1988 for Jesse Jackson's campaign. He was there.
I was in Chicago, but I remember that.
And he went to Arlee. Man, was I impressed with that guy for doing that.
Well, I love his saying, I am somebody.
All of us, right?
All of us. Yeah, Push was a good organization.
The thing I remember from that campaign speech was 3 strikes and you're out. Shit coming out of California at the time. I think it started under Reagan as governor. And Jesse, his idea was 4 balls and you're on. It's not 3 strikes and you're out. We've got to give you the tools so that you can get to first base, and from first base you can go to the next thing.
Amen. 100%. He was so built that way. His problem was, if you're the spokesman for a group of people, you better behave, because there's going to be shit thrown your way that you've got to say no to, and you can't dabble in it and say no sometimes. That's the thing, and I think Jesse got caught in that. And we know what the 90s were for Jesse Jackson. They were the dismantling of his dignity. I'm not sure if it came from him or if it was set up, but he fell into it.
It's a grim truth. It's a tragedy.
He lived with it too. He knew what happened. He knew that somebody was definitely sent to him by somebody who had the intention of catching him doing something.
It's always the case, isn't it?
It seems like it. It seems like it. Well, that's what we're seeing now. This president is, first of all, I want to speak to the numbness that this guy creates. He throws so much out here that you can't keep up. The first month of his, right after the inauguration, when he started dismantling USAID, and it was so overwhelming, I couldn't even listen to NPR. I couldn't turn on the news. He had accomplished, by being negative, eliminating the knowledge part of your anger. You couldn't even tune into it because it was so upsetting. You didn't want to hear it. And then I learned that I needed to hear it. That not only did I need to hear it, but I needed to keep score. Because this guy is the 5 times a day says things that you can't believe you heard out of a president's mouth. And it becomes the news instead of the news itself, which you should be paying attention to.
It's his Barnum and Bailey approach to the world life, right?
It is.
Just do the carnival and keep people distracted.
And I love the Bad Bunny segment in the Super Bowl when they had the power grid and he looked at his watch and yeah, we both know what that was.
I think Bad Bunny, that's some kind of talent, first of all, but god damn is he good.
He is good. I didn't have to understand a word. It was all there graphically for me to understand, from the sugarcane plantation hats to the barrio diner. It
Yeah.
was all right there.
That's the thing. It's like I don't have to say the words of racism. I can just show you,
Show
reflect
you the
back to you,
symbols.
white man, what you have done over the years, and you don't even understand your own goddamn symbols.
You call it capitalism. We call it dismantling cultures.
And extracting everything out of those cultures that's worth value and doing something untoward with it.
Right. Well, look at how he celebrated the first Cinco de Mayo. Remember that? He had the Taco Bell stuff in front of him with a Coke. I mean, that throwing paper towels in Puerto Rico after the hurricane, tossing paper towels at people.
It never ends.
It becomes a more refined art, is what it happens, is that you learn to do it better. It doesn't end. You learn to do it better. You learn to do it where it permeates culture instead of bounces off of it.
And as it permeates, it then becomes culture. And this is, I think, where, like you said earlier, this is where we are now. It's not
We
even
are
a
in
show anymore. It is who we are.
Well, 30% of us are definitely on that page, yes.
That's right. And I think there's a 30% that are maybe not quite that much, but there's a large percentage that are along for the ride, not critical about it at all.
No, as a matter of fact, they tend to agree, but they don't want to be considered racist or something. They're being careful with their wording.
Less careful. It seems to me the edge is wearing down, and so we're seeing more of them than the 30%. The 30%, the diehards, are unmissable, but there's that we're beginning to verge into more than that now. It seems to me.
Well, I think the Epstein files are pulling a Band-Aid off of a very ugly situation that they tried to blame on the other party. The Pizzagate thing, that whole 9 yards about the Clintons, we know who was there now. And yes, Bill was there, but we knew that already. But what we didn't know is that Deepak Chopra was there. What we didn't know was the plethora of wealthy people who took advantage of this and couldn't talk about it.
And not just the wealthy, but those in their orbit.
Debauchery is very addictive.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's a tool of manipulation. I think that, that's why we have to talk. That's why these things are important. And I think we need to have these conversations, but we also have to have them with people who don't agree.
That's true.
It's the hard work.
It's harder. Exactly. Yeah. This is so, for what it's worth, what I want to do with this podcast is hear from folks exactly like you, exactly like this kind of thing, to have the conversations that are, meaningful in more than just one way.
The reason Bruce Springsteen is who he is because he does things like he just did. When 9/11 came out, he put out The Rising. When you're an artist, your guitar does kill fascists.
That's right.
Woody Guthrie was right. Woody Allen was wrong, but Woody Guthrie was right. But yeah.
I want to hear, speaking of being right and your guitar killing fascist, I saw one of your YouTube posts. I can't remember the venue that you were playing, but you were the protester.
Victor
Yara. Tell me, where did that song come from? What's you as a fascist killer? Tell me about your role in all this.
Well, Victor Yara is one of my favorite songs, and it was actually Arlo Guthrie that showed me that song when I was at Hoyt Axton's house one day.
Oh my God!
When he lived down the Bitterroots.
Yeah,
I had the Blue Heron, and Hoyt had his 60th birthday party there. Died 2 years later. I met Arlo there, and that's one of the songs that we had one guitar. Hoyt always just let one guitar. Didn't want a bunch of guitars clanging around, so you passed it around.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to play one, and then when it was Arlo's turn, he played Victor Yara, and it moved me deeply. I remember those years. the stadiums full of dissidents, without food or water, America contributing to the delinquency of that government, much like Venezuela, much like what he's doing right now, tinkering with power for your benefit. And here's the thing about law. And what you realize about the presidency is that it's always been about an honorable man being in that position. There really aren't any restraints. The restraints are your morality. Now, if you're an immoral, greedy bastard, the laws don't matter. Because if your Justice Department is in your palm of your hand, what good are the laws?
It's completely destructive.
I just want to say the Gil Scott-Heron line that I love most. My brother can afford his bus token, and Whitey's on the moon.
He's one of my favorites.
I spent 2 days with him. He was at the Singing Frog and Armadillo Sanctuary when I was at the Cubby Bear with my band Voodoo Butter. And he came over to see what this guy that he'd heard about me was doing with all these white guys that were my band. And so he came to see me, and we wound up staying up all night that night talking with my friend Lorelei Clark. It was a really great couple days. And Gil Scott-Heron, man, when I listen to Secrets, for instance, that album still is in my top 10 Desert Island Records ever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Tell me what's a day in the life of Andre look like these days? You play a lot, and you play up and down that Flathead corridor, right?
Yeah, I do. I'm booking the summer currently. I'm on the phone a lot these days, booking the shows for the summer. I get up and usually, have my coffee like anybody else, and then I play. I try to play shit I can't play, so I can learn. I teach. I have a lot of good students. My students always perform with me at least once a year. I do the student show. It's a pretty, I think I got enough notoriety because of some airplay that a certain commander gave me some years ago.
That commander never gave you enough airplay. That's one of my other regrets, Andre. We should have played you more. I always wanted. I railed against that station to give us more local time, and they just
and now it seems like, and no one does it still.
I know.
Still
Terrible.
To this day, even after you and a few of the other guys at the station broke the barrier, no one followed suit. We've got records by Corey Hayden. We've got records by Tom Catmull. We've got records by all these big Sky Mudflips. They can't find a place except public radio.
It's horrible. Yeah,
it is.
Thank God for like John Floridis and Musician Spotlight.
Yeah, and public radio, period.
There's so much talent in and around Missoula and Western Montana that's just shocking to me that there's not a radio venue that can do that. I mean, the ownership is no longer at all local, not even close.
No, they don't even know who we are.
They don't care. They just want, whatever they want.
They just want the numbers.
But even local ownership was averse to that. They didn't ever buy in fully.
No, they didn't. And as a matter of fact, they created more waves if you did it than if you didn't.
Oh, you're telling me. Yikes.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like, why is this in the rotation? What are we getting out of this? Yeah.
What the hell am I hearing, Catey? That's what they used to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Why are they being so resistant to people who actually buy the products that are advertised on the station? Anyway, yeah, that's a whole different reality. But I don't worry about that anymore because the world is a different place and radio matters even less than it used to.
Yeah, that's right. Tell me, you said you're teaching. Are you teaching besides in our lead? Do you have other students that you're teaching as well?
Well, yeah, I have guitar students. I have I have 4 students that I see once a week, and that keeps me afloat if something falls apart gig wise. Plus this gig at our lead, this grant for till the end of May, till the 1st of June, I should say. And then so I mean, I'm surviving the winter, putting some money away, and it's just great to be able to just play and try to inspire children. That's the other thing. I don't have kids. Never been married, really, except this time. I call it a marriage because it feels like I'm never going to do anything else but this. But I want to give something back. I want kids to be hopeful and not doomsday or minded. I want them to realize that if they're not like everyone else, that's the key to your success,
That's right.
not the failure quotient.
Then getting the head out of the screen and onto an instrument, put your hands on strings or keys, whatever it is, makes such a difference, right? It
Feel the
engages.
wood, feel the brass. Yeah. I mean, for you, you've got a wooden instrument. Now, I'll tell you the relationship for me. When I touch wood, it's earth to me.
That's right.
It's grounding.
Mhm.
When I touch brass, less so. Less so. So I really do believe in wooden instruments. I just love them. Mandolins, violins, lutes.
When I pick up my violin and when it's doing what it's supposed to do and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do and I get that resonance, that's exactly what you're talking about for me. It's the vibration through me connecting me to something much greater than myself.
Something eternal, something that never changes. How can there be 12 tones in the musical system we use and 6 billion songs?
This is what I'm saying. This is why I call the podcast The Sum of All Wisdom, because music for me is that. It's exactly what you just said. It brings us together. It's how we make sense of the world. It's how we make sense of relationships and build community. And when it's done the right way, through music, I think that's lasting, even if you disagree. Like we can disagree. Dissonance is great. It is going to resolve somehow into a nice.
It will find a way to find a sweetness in you.
That's right.
That will open up.
And if we listen to dissonance as the expectation, the hope that what comes next is better, that's it for me.
Oh boy. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. That's one of the reasons why the punk movement was so vital to what happened next. Music had gotten to the point where it was like England Dan and John Ford Coley boring. And then it went from that you had to break it down again. You had to start over. It was like bang a gong, baby, when you can't figure out what's next. Yeah.
God for CBGB, right? Oh, yeah. What a venue.
Oh my God. Yeah, you wouldn't pee in it, but you'd listen to music in it. You'd hover over the toilet in CBGBs. You wouldn't let your butts land. That's for sure.
That's right. I was reading recently a book on the Talking Heads, and there was half of the book was basically their time in CBs, and it's a great book, but it gave me so much more feel for Byrne and the rest of the Heads that I love that sort of thing, right? To learn about where they've come from and what they did and how they brought together something like the Talking Heads out of that sort of context is just amazing. Great stuff.
And the fact that the Heads were more of an art project than they were a music project.
And Byrne is up there with, for me, there's a few folks who went through that cycle, the rock and roll band cycle, and then for whatever reason, the bands came to an end, and they continued to do their work as solo artists. So for me, it's Plant, right? Byrne, and there's a few others that are in there, but those guys that just stretch and continue to stretch, I really appreciate.
Well, I think Phil Collins would be one.
Definitely. I'm so sorry for his injuries. Oh my God.
Oh man, wow, he is not in good shape. No, in fact, he's holding on almost in spite of what he would wish. I mean, he's not feeling good.
I want to ask you about the Arlee kids. I've meant to do this before and I forgot. Does the grant include technology for them? Like they're getting computers and recording?
I just, in fact, installed the brand new Mini Mac with a couple of glyphs on the side for their storage. Got them a nice screen, some good Edifier speakers. They're using a Volt, a United Audio interface. And I just set it up. I got 2 of them for them, and put them in one of their empty rooms that there are so many of in high schools. And I just set them up a couple of weeks ago, and they're ready and so I've got, interestingly enough, one of my kids for the school that's going to learn how to record is a violinist.
Nice.
And the other one's a percussionist.
That's going to be fun.
Oh yeah. Well, right now I've got 2 signed up, but this is the first year. And what I'm hoping is that the Center for Community Development in Arlee will write another grant for continuing this coming year. Because if I have 2, I have a feeling that there's so much distrust that no one responded at first. Finally, 2 girls finally had the bravery to come up to me and say, do you think I could? In that tiny voice. And I said, I know you could.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I know you could. And let's get busy. So one of them plays violin and the other one's a drummer. And I want them to be the impetus for the others. I want the others to see that with just a little spark, they can build a mighty, mighty, mighty warmth, self-warmth that they can huddle in, that they can depend on, that they don't feel like they're reverting to some white man's way or whatever the fuck the problem is, that they can find something genuine in them that they can sell and never have to punch the clock, which is
with their community.
With their community.
Yeah.
Living in and being who they are and not having to become someone else.
Yeah. Are they, what kind of?
Well, here's the deal. The nice thing about, I read an interview with Wozniak just recently, who said, my intention and Steve Jobs' intention was to get things out of the way for the creative mind. If you had an idea, to make it as easy to create it as you possibly could. And I think we're close with AI. He'd be so proud of what we've done, that you can build an app just now by telling what you want the app to do.
Right. Yeah.
And you can then ask it to design the app, and then you can put it on the market and you can become a millionaire if your idea is good. See, those are the kinds of things that they wanted to see happen.
I want to know about not just your performing, but are you recording? Are you?
I am recording. I'm actually recording because I just got this keyboard and I wanted to use the program and the keyboard. I got one of those Logic keyboards, the Apple, that has all the commands on the keys for the program. And the thing is it's like algebra to me. I look at it and I go, oh my God, what am I going to do with this thing? So I got one of them and put it here, and I also have two of them there. But I'm learning this right now. I'm learning this keyboard and using the function. So it's forcing me to record because it's making me have an idea that I have to execute these keys and have something done, whether it's, return to marker, whether it's a cut and paste, whether it's an EQ issue, and I can just do it from the keys. Those are the things I want to show them. I want them to be able to use every tool available, and mini Macs are so affordable now. And sure, they don't have any storage. They have 258 gigabytes of memory, but that's not the point. You buy a peripheral and you save there, and then you don't tax your machine, and it lasts for 30 years.
Are you planning to release anything? Put out any stuff on?
Well, that's a whole different thing than it used to be, but I have some stuff on Spotify. Releasing and distributing product is such an expense that I am actually grateful for this new method, because I don't have to pay a duplicating house some exorbitant amount, and then people can just go find the music. Right. Now, I know that it doesn't pay as well, but I like the fact that if you make good music and you can get heard, that's the point, is that's why radio worked, is because it was the way to put your thing in front of people and let them decide. Right.
So you're on Spotify. Listen to what's the record? 2012.
2012. That's on there. I'm and the first two are not on there, which is really a crime because they're the best of the three. Sometimes I'm a little short on dough, so I gotta wait because you do have to pay Spotify.
Yeah.
And they pay nothing. They really pay nothing.
Do you use any other services? Bandcamp, SoundCloud?
I don't. But here's the thing. Somebody told me one time to be careful of where you compete, and compete where the good stuff is. And I find Bandcamp has a lot of amateurish stuff on it. Yeah, I sort of shy away from that stuff because it's kind of like Mrs. Miller doing Tiptoe Through the Tulips or something. It's But there's good stuff. I mean, I have a student Miriam Talus, who is a Danish gal that I used to see her mom way back in the day. And she grew up and became a really good singer in Portland. And she posts on SoundCloud, and I go listen to her stuff because I love it. And I love her voice. I mean, we used to sing together when she was 13, and she had a great voice then.
Tell me her name again.
Miriam Talus, Talus.
Cool.
Miriam Talus.
I'll definitely give that a listen. Maybe we can get her on the podcast one of these days.
She'd be great. She is so creative and just as quirky and weird as anyone I know. Certainly more so than Lady Gaga.
Yeah, that's good. That's
Oh,
good.
kids these days, I met her from teaching Montessori, which is the whole thing. You don't know that I taught Montessori. I also taught, this was after we knew each other. I taught Montessori and I also taught at a therapeutic boarding school for years. Yeah, where we had a psychiatric wing as well as a teacher's wing. Yeah, it was an incredible business. And I loved teaching music there because, and we couldn't even use the kids' last names because you'd recognize them.
Yeah.
We were forbidden to.
Music therapy is such an innovative, creative, useful way to interact with folks. I mean, I have a niece who's trained to do that, and she's practicing. I don't know if she's practicing in the music therapy, but she's a social work therapist now.
Nice,
And
nice.
that kind of work for me is just like, I don't know,
Oh, those are the angels of mercy in my book. Those are
angels
the
for
angels
sure.
of mercy.
And using music as a part of that, and art, right? Any sort of creativity, I think, is so important.
Well, I was at Summit Prep for 3, and then I did the Kalispell Montessori School for 3. Yeah, and a lot of my favorite times were those kids, and I had choirs, and I taught them songs like Cumberland Gap and Daniel Boone, and we'd have choir class, but it wasn't the usual shit. We'd go back to the Appalachian Songbook,
Yeah.
songs about the Erie Canal, and
Speaking of Springsteen, right? Have you heard his take on
oh,
all?
of course, that Live in Dublin album, yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's a really good treatment of that stuff, and it turns it back into Americana.
that's right.
Yeah, Stephen Foster was the Randy Newman of the 1800s.
That's right. Great analogy. That's true. Totally true.
Yeah.
So I want we probably do need to wrap soon, Andre, but
Yeah, we probably do.
I want to ask you about like the folks you've played with over your career. I think
Well, you were there for the Taj Mahal thing, and of course, I told you Vassar used Mudiguana as his band, Vassar Clemens, so I got to go out on the road with Vassar many times. I played with a lot. I mean, I played with in Chicago. My God, we played with Sam and Dave. I played with the Liars, a band out of Boston, called the Liars. I played with Trip Shakespeare from Minneapolis band. I mean, we played with so many different people. I was actually shared a rehearsal space with the Smashing Pumpkins when Voodoo Butter was coming up. They had the 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. slot at the rehearsal space, and we had the 10 to 1 spot. So they'd get there and start setting up sometimes when we were breaking our stuff down.
Nice.
And I'd run into those guys, Jimmy Watt and
Did you jam with them ever?
Yeah. Well, sometimes, yeah, you know how it is, back in the days of burning and drinking and everybody's there. And sometimes we'd hang out and watch a few, minutes of their rehearsal, or they'd show up early and watch ours, Steve Albini from Missoula was there, and he was producing Ministry and some of those crazy bands, those industrial bands. Yeah, that was really a great time.
He made a good name for himself, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, he did. And he passed away last year.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Steve Albini passed away last year. It was a big loss.
Big loss.
Hellgate High School kid. Yeah.
I remember. Oh, man.
Yeah. Checkers is still doing his thing at Electronic Sound and Percussion. Still got Checkers, of course.
Fucking Checkers. That guy he's like the Energizer Bunny, right?
He is, man. He's like, he's like the Mike Douglas of drumming, he's like, he should have a talk show, that fucking guy.
He should. Yeah.
Yeah, Checkers is all, everybody's here, Richie Reinhold, everybody's here, I live up the hill. I literally live half a block from the Mud Flaps.
Oh, do you really?
I hear them rehearse all the time. In fact, my neighborhood is like old Missoula. You hear bands every day rehearsing in my neighborhood.
That's amazing. It seems like I don't know, Missoula has always been kind of a magnet for artistic types and musicians.
Yeah, it always has.
My sort of Facebook family is really, it's like 90% musicians, and they're all from Missoula.
Yeah, no, it's a very healthy scene.
I miss that. I miss being in Missoula and being exposed to just the ethos of we're here, we're a little bit different, we're creative, and we don't really give a damn whether you like it or not. We're just going to do our thing.
And the history matters. For instance, my kitchen floor is the original stage for the Missoula Children's Theater.
You're kidding.
From the elementary school that it was originally in. This is the stage floor.
How did you get
removed? That? Well, because Willie, who was one of the original guys with Jim Caron that started the Children's Theater, when he built this house in like the mid-70s, he took that floor out and put it here.
Oh, man.
And this is the floor.
I have so many good memories of the Children's Theater and Jim Caron.
Yeah, especially when it was on Adams instead of where it is now.
Yeah. That place was great. Foundational for everybody that I went to school with. We were all involved in plays.
Oh, it was like a breath of fresh air in a polluted town.
There was a production of Alice in Wonderland once. I was the Mock Turtle, and I got to sing my Mock Turtle song.
Well, you've been on this floor.
I've been on that floor. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was on that floor with Megan Folsom. Megan Folsom has she's at the time I had such a crush on her. She is phenomenal, and she, as an actress, she does such great work. I mean,
Megan does great work. In fact, there's a few people out of there. I mean, the gal that did the Killers of the Flower Moon was a student here, worked in this shop. Yeah,
that's right. I sometimes have said to people, this is between you and me, Andre. I've sometimes said, "Oh, I've acted with Megan Folsom,"
and people go, "Oh, really? Well, right? No,
tell me more."
She was 12, but yes, I did.
And I was terrible, and I never did anything after that.
Well, Mark Roscoe's niece is the girlfriend of one of my guitar students, and she's at the Children's, and she's very good. She's going to be big.
We got to talk about one more thing, Andre, before we do wrap it up, and that is the Dylan Show.
Oh.
This, for me, when you called and said, "Listen, I got tickets, can we go?" That was 96, wasn't it?
That was 96, yeah.
That was just after I'd got back from overseas. I was back in the radio. They, for whatever reason, hired me back. I think they probably regretted that. But anyway, you called and you're like, "I got these tickets." We drove over to the Gorge at George Washington.
And back, because you had to be on the air the next morning.
That's right. Dylan, Van Morrison, and Joni Mitchell. What a show.
And you know what? It was we had no idea at the time how legendary those shows would become.
That's right. And we were in the orchestra, right? Second row orchestra.
Yeah, we were in the orchestra pit. Yeah, we had great seats. We could stand and watch Van Morrison on the side of the stage. I remember standing next to you going, he's just standing there mumbling. We were like going
and throwing shade at that keyboardist.
Yeah, he was not happy.
Not at all.
No, there's something else.
My favorite memory from, maybe it's not my favorite memory. One of my favorite memories. We're sitting there. Dylan comes out. He's the third in the lineup. They rotated through, right?
Right. 3 nights, 3 different openers.
That's right. So he was the closer, the headliner of the show, as it were. And as soon as he kicked into Positively 4th Street, this cloud of marijuana smoke rose above the crowd.
Hallelujah.
And it was perfectly still. The sun was going down. That scene over the Columbia River.
It's still spectacular.
It was the most, like, oh my God, I've reached the top. I could die happy right now.
I remember we didn't get home till 3 a.m. or something. You had to be up at the station at 7, something like that.
I think I was filling in for somebody. I think I had to be on the air at 6. That's right.
Oh yeah, man, it was ugly. Whatever it wasn't working for you.
Aye. The good old days.
You got through it though. You got through it, and I think you slept the entire next day. But
back when I had energy, right?
Well, you certainly had more time.
I sure did. Yeah, you're gonna have to come back on the show so we can talk about your experience of how many years you've been doing this. 70. You're 70 something now. So
probably 60 now. 60 solid years. I started at 11. I'm 71.
All the technology changes that you've seen over those 60 years.
I couldn't even freaking tune my guitar unless I had a tuning fork in 1963. Are you kidding me?
Now you just clip it right on, right?
Yeah. I couldn't even, and who had a tuning fork? Shit, those things were $50 then or something. You had to be a piano tuner or something.
But I want to talk to you more about your experience in the scene in Missoula. Some of the stuff you've posted on Facebook recently those photographs are so evocative.
You tell the story, man. I'm glad I was here taking pictures. There's so many. How about the Hugo years of Missoula? Nobody ever writes about that.
Yeah. And Crumley was in that crowd.
Oh yeah, man, Crumley, some of the greatest literary minds of the 20th century, of the late 20th century, were here at
Richard
one
Brodigan
time.
came through there.
Well, he was living in Livingston at the time.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Oh yeah.
hang out with Crumley at Charlie B's.
Of course you did. Well, I saw you there a
Space
time or two at 3:30 in the afternoon. Oh yeah.
That's still my favorite place. Yeah. I'm
It's
glad
still
they
the
got
same.
Eddie's Club in there. They used to. I think it's still there, right?
Here, hold on, I got a book to show you. Hold on for a sec. Here's the Lee Nye pictures, all of them.
Lee Nye
haven't-
is another guy that is just iconic in Missoula. That dude took such great photographs. I love him.
Yeah, there they are.
You know Eric Wolferman,
Yeah.
100.
Yep.
He gave me that book.
Oh, it's incredible. It reminds me of the old stories that Van Morrison tells about laying in his bedroom and listening to rock and roll from those stations that were off coast, and the little diodes would
boats.
glow in the dark. Yeah.
Yeah, right. What an era. Oh man, Andre, this has been so much fun. I'm so glad
Well,
that we
listen,
made this connection.
Love you, man. And
Thanks, Andre. I really appreciate that.
You
And I
betcha,
will be
bro.
in touch with you about when I get this edited and posted, and I'll send you a link and you can Google it from there.
yeah, absolutely. Until then.
Found true love, one worth waiting for. I said I found true love, one worth waiting for.
I'm Dr. Scott Catey, the host and producer of The Sum of All Wisdom, conversations on music, makers, and meaning. Find us on thesumofallwisdom.com, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. The Sum of All Wisdom is published by Ravenna Studios.